Hey, this is Cohmervac doing a quick behind the scenes video for the animation I just made today. Well, I guess it would be yesterday because it's past midnight right now. But I'm just going to show you kind of the general process of how this was made and some neat things about it. So initially I started in Blender and I actually did some of the animation in here. Let me see if I can find it where my camera angle is at. I forgot to 0. So I got the first 2 bits in here. And grabs it. That's where I stopped in Blender. Now it definitely would look better in Blender, but rendering is in Blender. Well, it would have taken a while, and I didn't really feel like renting a server or like a render farm thing. Though it definitely would have looked better in Blender. It's just that well, rendering's just a huge problem. It's not something you can really do on your own computer if you really want to render something that looks good, because it just takes so much horsepower, and you can't do it without a server. So basically, I took this set and Raynor and Tracer, the model that I think you've seen it in a different video, the animation update video I did about a month ago or something. But I have those models, I've rigged them, and I put those into Source Filmmaker along with the set here. Got all the materials set up, and I'm not going to go into that process because, frankly, it's overly complicated and really annoying. So, point in case, I got it into Source Filmmaker finally. That took a little too longer than I wanted it to, but it's in Source Filmmaker, so let me just go find that over here. And so I got into Source Filmmaker, the whole set, more or less, and it looked pretty good after I added all the lights. Took a lot of lights. There are like 30 lights in here, and they kind of change. Some of them I use in different shots, other ones I don't use in different shots, and they move around a little bit. Some of them are a little bit animated just to get the right looks in all the different shots, and then I figured out how to use too much green, and then I had to cut some of the green out when I was in After Effects. But so this is kind of the general look at the shot, and then I go ahead and let me just make sure this is muted. So I have a track in here. It's just the audio track with the Jeff Kaplan voice in there, and it helped me get the timing right when I did this. So let's take a look. There's a slug shot, and it's just black, and then it goes over here. And of course, the transitions, they don't work in Source Filmmaker. You can't add transitions. You can do fade, but you can't do transitions. I figured I'd just do that all in Premiere Pro. It's really good for that. So I have the shot here, and Fan's animated. He's animated it a little bit. Good lighting coming in from the window, and then there's the Overwatch thing that I modeled. There's the model on the channel speed modeling video where I do that. And, it picks it up. That's pretty simple so far, just aside from the lighting that took a while. Pretty simple stuff. And then it shoots to here. It looks over there, looks at that. I was trying to keep this as accurate to the actual video as possible, and I'd have it on my other monitor as I'd work on this. I'd just use it for reference to get the camera angles and the general lighting down. It's it's not going to be exactly the same. I figured I didn't want to make it exactly the same, but I got it pretty close. So he just kind of shoots. Got some Photoshop in here. Put his head on where Matt Horner's head used to be. That's the character in StarCraft, but full 10th down here. Photoshop some more heads in there, and then got this one. Should be able to get this joke. Everyone's a streamer except for Raynor. There's Jeff. I put his head on. Where my camera? I put Jeff's head on Tychus. That was kind of funny. Let's see, scoot over here. And let's see, where's my camera? The tracer there, it's just photoshopped in there onto a texture. And it looks down. This is one of my favorite shots in here, aside from the one where he looks at the TV. Now, the one shot that I didn't animate in SFM was the one where the doors open, because I didn't actually have the part of the door that opens. Now, I could have modeled that and it would have looked about the same, but I didn't feel like it. And you see right here is just an attempt with a couple of the models that were already in SFM. I was like, such a short shot. I might as well just use the one from the actual video. So that's the one shot I did use from the original, just because it's so short and unimportant. So he looks up over there. That was a little bit harder to animate. Still pretty easy stuff. All of this animation was pretty easy. Some of it a little more time consuming than other bits. I couldn't get the right look for this shot. Now, I don't know how they got the camera angle they did in the original on Raynor's face, but it's wider than I could get it. So I had to stretch it out a little bit in post. That helped, and added a lens flare over here to kind of distract. But yeah, I wasn't too happy with the way this one turned out. It didn't look quite like the other one like I wanted it to. Now, part of that's the facial animation. The controls I have in SFM are extremely limited. I was only able to do so much with the rigging here. And, facial rigging takes a little while. If you know anything about it, it's one of the harder things to do, I think, if you want a really good, facial animation control, especially in Source Filmmaker. So yeah, all the facial bits, though they're animated, let me find them. The controls I have for it are so bad, but they work. This is actually someone else got most of this model in. I did some work on it though. You can see all the sliders in here as they move as the face moves. See that? You can go take a look at the graph editor. It's all the little bits in there, the curves. So this is actually really close, I thought, to the original. And I just go in here, go to the graph editor, find Raynor. Look at all that. So those are all the keyframes where he's moving, basically different poses, kind of like a puppet master, right? I'm posing him in certain places. And, you think maybe like claymation, right? Where you pose the character, it's like that, except you have interpolation, which, see these curves in between the keyframes, that's where the computer is generating the motion in between. And, sometimes it gets a little buggy and weird, so, you kind of need a lot of keyframes to make it look exactly how you want it to. But, it's a process, and once you get it down, it looks pretty good. The walk cycle I got kind of lazy on. I just, I'm just going to do the upper torso. The legs don't really work, the shoulders don't really work. But, you know what? It's okay. It's not good. It's okay. And it worked. So, most people don't pick it apart so much as I would. I'm quite into animation. So that's the kind of everything in Source Filmmaker. And so what I would do is I'd grab a clip. I'd say, you know what, I'm going to render this. And it puts out an image sequence, which, see if I can find my crap here. So this is an image sequence, right? It renders out a PNG image for every single frame. And you can see here, I just click one, there's a frame. And so what happens is I take this and I throw it into After Effects, and I have After Effects compile the image sequence into a lossless format that plays back really well. Image sequences don't play back well in editing programs. You have to have it in some sort of compressed format for it to play right. And there's stuff to that I don't know how to explain. But basically, I just had to take all the image sequences and set them up in videos, actually. Which, it's got to be in a video format if it wants to work right. Image sequences don't work right. And so I'd take those image sequences after I rendered them as video into Premiere Pro, which is, I just stitched everything together here. So basically, I'd take and edit the clips in After Effects, and I'd put them in here, stitch them together with the audio that some of the bits I created myself, like when this fan is swishing, that was me on the microphone going. And I just throw that into Adobe Audition. And I cut it up a little bit and turn the pitch down, slow it down a little bit as well. The tempo. And it sounded all right. And yeah, it's all in here. It plays back really well. So it's just stitched together in here. This part of the process wasn't too complicated, aside from getting the timing right. I rendered out some of the clips at the wrong frame rate, 30 instead of 24, and that actually screwed up the playback speed. So I had to slow them down a little bit. Once I figured out what was going on, it would fit with the audio track that I made for the final cut, which was different than just the rough one I made for when I was animating it to keep with reference. And I also used the video in here on the side. This is the original. I used it to help me get the lighting right. Of course, I changed it up. I gave it a slightly magenta tone that I liked across most of it. So that's pretty much how the process works. I'm sure I'm missing a lot of details because there's just so much stuff that goes into this. Rigging is just it's a lot of stuff that goes into that, and importing stuff in SFM. So much that it's a headache, especially when you're trying to write all the materials. The materials in SFM, you have to write a script that tells it how it looks. You can't visually do it. No, you can't. It's too easy. No, they made it so you have to write a script out that says, here's what the Phong properties are, which is just the way, the light reflects off of it. Here are the textures, you have to list them out. And, here are other properties you have to list, like with the iris, the eyes on this guy. So it's kind of a weird shader for SFM. It's just annoying. And then it's not easy, like the hair, right? So basically with the hair, it's just a bunch of polygons, and it's a bunch of, it's just a texture that has transparent background that's pasted on the polygons. Except SFM doesn't do that right. It cuts it out really choppy. Now you can use a translucent property, which makes it look nice and smooth. but then it's not opaque, then it's transparent. And it's just a headache getting some of this stuff to work right, especially skin. You got to play with that until it looks right. Of course, it doesn't quite look right, obviously. It's just an animation. Skin never looks quite right. Uncanny Valley type stuff, But it helps when the characters are a little more cartoony. I always say that you got to go stylistic or go home, because if you look at animation and models that are made to be realistic, they always look really goofy, like Uncanny Valley stuff. So that's why I really like the art choice they made for Overwatch, nice and somewhat cartoony. But yeah, getting the stuff in SFM is just a headache. And so when I had this here, I rendered it out at really high settings, and then I put it on YouTube, and YouTube compresses video, and I hate how it does it, because it has limits to the bitrate that it actually compresses at. It looks so much better on my computer because there's not color banding, and there's not distortions from stuff from the compression. Much cleaner looking. But you know what? YouTube's free and everyone uses it, so you just got to use it. Looks great, I think. I think I did a pretty good job. And yeah, that's just a general process. So I'm not going to get too much more detail here. I might as well just stop this video here. It's just 11 minutes long right now, and I need to probably get to bed. So thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting the channel. And this is Cohmervac, and you know how to support me. With that, I'll be signing off. Thanks for watching.